on the second floor of the hotel, Supervisor Bob Wilson was doing the night shift when he noticed a strange looking machine in the corridor that definitely hadn't been there before. This floor of the hotel was dedicated to employees, and seeing this weird machine at such a late hour made Bob feel something was off. It was a metallic box with a smaller box connected on top, and the front part looked like a weird control panel. The control panel had a total of 28 switches, and at that moment, 23 of them were turned on. It was 6:30 in the morning. This happened at the Harvey Lake Tahoe Hotel and Casino in Nevada, and it was about to make national headlines in the next 24 hours. For Bob Wilson, it wasn't just a weird machine. He had been on duty almost all night, but he didn't hear any noise of someone placing a machine in the corridor. Whoever left this machine here had placed it on 4 wooden blocks, which were sunk into the carpet of the corridor, showing that the machine was pretty heavy. What made this whole situation even stranger was the exact spot where the machine was placed. Someone had glued super glue on the locks of the nearby doors, making them useless. Bob Wilson was still struggling with this when he found an envelope right next to the machine. It was addressed to the Harvey management. It's an American state, Nevada, known for a famous casino and hotel. At the time we're talking about, it was an 11-story building with 197 rooms. When Bob Wilson found the envelope on the second floor of the building, he ran off to call security. The police and fire department were called in. At first, no one dared to even pick up the envelope because everyone suspected it might be a trap. Later, using a broom to gently shake it, they opened it. Inside the envelope, there was a 3-page document typed on a typewriter. At the top, a headline read, "Warning for Hotel Management and Bomb Squad." Below the headline, it said not to try shaking the bomb because it had a mechanism inside that would, if it got shaken even a little, it would detonate in seconds. Don't even think about putting water or gas inside because it has float switches. If you do, the air pressure inside the machine would increase and it would blow up. The screws on top of the machine are also connected to the trigger, so even if you turned a screw 25 times, it would still explode. To put it simply, this bomb was so fragile that even the slightest shake could set it off. At least, according to the letter, there were 600 guests in the hotel at that time. People were sleeping in the rooms when the police first evacuated the hotel and told everyone to go to the parking lot. After that, they called in the bomb squad, who carefully examined the machine first. It was a box made of about half-inch thick steel plate, welded very neatly. Even in places where there were some marks, strips used for car bodies were applied to straighten it out. Bubble levels were attached on all 4 sides of the box, probably installed to keep the machine perfectly level. All these details clearly showed maybe what's written in the letter is actually true. The letter also said that this bomb can't be defused by any means, not even by the person who made it. It has automatic timers set to go off within the next 24 hours, and it can only be stopped if the management follows the instructions written in the letter. Considering how serious the situation was, law enforcement agencies and the bomb squad didn't take any action that might trigger the bomb. First, they tried to look for any fingerprints on the box, but they didn't find anything at first, so they took pictures of it from every angle and did a special X-ray to see if there was really something inside or if it was just a trick. While waiting for the X-ray to develop, they put a stethoscope to the box and listened closely. They definitely heard something. There was something inside the box moving continuously. The letter claimed there was TNT inside, but it also hinted that if the bomb went off, the road nearby would. The nearby casinos took a pretty big hit, and there were also warnings written that basically said people should be kept at least 1,200 feet away from the bomb. The police officers evacuated the surrounding buildings, shut off the hotel's gas pipeline, and the casino employees started moving millions of dollars in cash elsewhere. FBI agents arrived on the scene and set up a command and control center for the operation in a nearby building. The faces of the police and law enforcement agencies were screaming with intensity. They were saying the situation is even more serious than it looks. But the thing is, whoever planted this bomb had some demands. The letter said they want $3 million in cash, but the catch is the bills have to be uncirculated, no markings, no chemical treatments or anything like that. It also said if anyone tries to be smart, they won't reveal how to defuse the bomb. And if the demand isn't met within 24 hours, the timers will automatically detonate the bomb. But still the question is who the money was supposed to go to and how. When the X-ray film came back from the lab, the blurry black and white picture at least somewhat backed up the threats mentioned in the letter. On the machine, there was a small control box attached. The X-ray showed that wires were indeed connected to the screws, just like the letter had said. Inside the box, there was a straight tube that was probably a tilt sensor. And there also seemed to be a float valve. Besides that, the lower box was filled with various cylinders. At that time, the police weren't sure what those cylinders were for. No one had any clue, but one thing was clear. The person writing the letter wasn't pulling a prank. This machine was seriously a bomb. Slowly, the 24-hour deadline was ticking away, so the authorities agreed to cooperate. The 3-page letter also included details about the money delivery. The cash was going to be delivered by helicopter with instructions for the pilot to land near the LTA building at the Lake Town Airport at 11 p.m. facing south. After landing, the pilot was supposed to get out and stand near the fans where he would be. You'll get a call and the rest of the instructions will be given during that call. Remember, there should only be a pilot in the helicopter, no gunman or anyone else. To pull this off, the agent named Cook started the FBI helicopter. They had $3 million in cash on board, but all the bills were fake. Also, a gunman was hidden right behind the pilot's seat. The gunman was told that no matter what happens, he has to protect the FBI agent. At exactly 11 p.m., the FBI agent landed at the designated spot. Kia got off and stood near the fans. After a short while, the phone booth bell by the fans rang. The agent picked up the phone, and a man on the other end said there was a letter under the table of the phone booth. He told him to pick it up and read it. The guy on the other side was pretty smart. He didn't want to stay on the public phone for more than 5 seconds because the longer the call, the higher the chances of getting traced. The new letter was addressed to the pilot, and it said to first go to the helicopter and shine a flashlight inside, showing every corner of it. Don't forget, we're watching you. After that, take off and head towards Highway 50. About 15 minutes later, on your right-hand side in the woods, you'll see a strobe light. Land facing south, near that strobe. There you'll find another letter hanging from a tree. The pilot did exactly that, smartly lit up the helicopter cockpit so the gun wouldn't spot him, then took off and reached the exact spot where the strobe was supposed to be. Once he got there, the pilot didn't see any strobe probe light anywhere around. He didn't know what to do, so he kept circling around for the next hour. But since it was a dark night and the forest was completely still, he decided to head back and land at the airport. Later, they found out that he hadn't read the instructions properly, and the place he was supposed to go was actually miles away from where he was. A news report was aired on TV asking the person who gave the instructions to send a message because there was some confusion about the location. When the guy who planned the whole thing found out that the police were still willing to pay him, he contacted the police. I called the station and said, Harvey, flip switch number 5 on the machine in the hotel upstairs. Then I told him to wait for the next call. Maybe he wanted some time to come up with a new plan. That's when he told them to flip the dummy switch up, but by then it was already way too late. It was 6:40 in the morning, meaning the bomb had been sitting in the hotel for over 24 hours. Even after the deadline passed, it hadn't gone off which was actually a good sign. Meanwhile, the FBI, police bomb squad, and fire department teams at the command and control center were guessing that there could be at most 1,000 pounds of TNT in the box. They had done all the calculations to make sure that if it exploded right there in the hotel, it wouldn't damage the building's pillars. At worst, just the interior of the floor would get damaged. So they fitted a small bomb control box right next to the bomb. The plan was that when the plastic bomb went off, it would disable the control box, hopefully stopping the TNT from detonating. Everything was set. The nearby buildings were evacuated, and they got ready to blow up the bomb. It was around 3:45 p.m. on August 27th. I was standing about a kilometer away, watching the whole scene, and news outlets were recording it. Suddenly, there was a loud fire in the whole shout, and someone